So, what exactly do you have to show for your life, Baya? Mira's voice rang out, crisp and cold like the clink of glass breaking in a silent room. You're 43, unemployed, still living in this rundown house. You spent your whole life chasing my dream. And for what? Arvind looked up from the steaming cup of chai in his hand. His fingers tightened slightly around the handle, but his face didn't change. Sushma froze at the kitchen doorway, her lips parting as if to say something, then closing again. The only sound was the ceiling fan ticking overhead like a slow metronome to an unwritten tragedy. Meera stood tall in the center of the room, dressed in a perfectly tailored salwar kameez, her makeup flawless, her designer handbag resting on the old sofa like royalty on a beggar's bench. Her phone buzzed on the table next to her, its glow flashing like a siren, but she ignored it, too focused on the stunned silence in the room. I didn't ask you to sacrifice your life for mine, she continued. You made that choice. Don't expect me to pay for it now. Arvind's voice, when it came, was soft. Too soft. I never wanted payment, Meera. I just hoped you'd remember where you came from, she scoffed. Where I came from? Baya, I left all this behind for a reason. And with that, the story unspooled back through years that had worn grooves into both memory and soul. The foundation. Malarpur was the kind of place that taught you early to live without expecting too much. The air always smelled of dust and diesel. The roads were scarred with potholes so deep they seemed to lead to other worlds. And yet, in one modest house with flaking paint and a broken veranda, hope had once been alive. Arvind was the eldest child in a family that owned little but their pride. Their father, Harish, worked as a porter in the grain market, hauling sacks twice his weight until his spine bowed like a tired tree. Their mother, Kamla, sold bangles at the temple steps, earning barely enough to afford dal and rice. Arvind grew up fast. At 16, he was tutoring neighborhood children to cover school fees. At 18, he took his first job as a junior clerk in a dusty old accounting office, cycling 45 minutes each day with a torn satchel strapped to his back. But even then, he smiled easily. He had a reason. That reason was Meera. She was 9 years younger, born when their father's back finally gave out, and their mother's hands had grown too twisted with arthritis to craft bangles anymore. She was bright, brilliant even. Her notebooks were filled with neat handwriting and diagrams far beyond her grade. She spoke of hospitals, scalpels, and changing the world. Arvind believed in her dream more than he ever believed in his own. He began saving, skipping meals, wearing the same shirt for years. He turned down a promotion in Delhi so he could stay close, to be there when the fees were due, or when Meera called crying from the hostel because she couldn't afford another textbook. When she cleared the entrance exam for medical school in Mumbai, Arvind cried harder than she did. He sold the small plot of land he had inherited, the only security he owned, to cover her first-year tuition. When his wife, Sushma, asked him, "What about our children's future?" He'd replied gently, "They will be proud one day to know their aunt is a doctor." And for a time, it seemed worth it. The distance. Meera soared. While Arvind quietly aged in his small town, graying at the temples, his dreams folded and tucked behind bills and grocery lists, Meera became everything the town spoke about in awe. She's at that hospital in Mumbai now, nah? She drives a car. I heard she gave a speech in English. Her visits home grew less frequent. Her calls shorter, her tone clipped. I'm too busy, Baya, she would say. You won't understand what my life is like now. Arvind never protested. He hung up the phone with a smile and told his children, Your Masi is saving lives. But things began to unravel quietly. The accounting firm he'd worked at for nearly 2 decades shut down after a financial scandal. He received no severance, no pension. With no formal degree and outdated skills, no one was eager to hire him. He tried tutoring again, but the younger generation preferred certified online teachers. The small emergency fund he had started for his family had long been drained by Meera's rising education costs over the years. His children wore hand-me-down uniforms. His wife went without medicine for her back pain. Still, he told no one, not even Meera, until the day she returned, unannounced. The fracture. She arrived in a car driven by a hired chauffeur, stepping out in heels that cost more than the family's monthly grocery bill. Arvind had stood at the gate, joy lighting up his weathered face like a flame flickering to life. But Meera didn't embrace him. She looked around, frowning. God, this place hasn't changed at all. That night at dinner, she refused to eat the potato curry, wrinkling her nose. No quinoa, no olive oil. I'm trying to stay off carbs. She slept in a hotel the second night, and on the third, the argument happened. The children heard every word. They watched as their hero, their Masi, accused their father of being a burden. They saw how his shoulders sagged, not from defeat, but from the realization that the person he loved most in the world no longer remembered the cost of her own wings. She left the next morning. No hugs, no goodbyes, just a swirl of perfume and the slam of a car door. The echoes. In the days that followed, Arvind returned to his quiet routines. He got a part-time job at a rice mill, sweeping floors and maintaining ledgers. He planted marigolds in the backyard because Sushma liked their color. He read bedtime stories to his children. One night his son asked, "Papa, why did Masi say you failed?" Arvind thought for a long time before answering, "Because she believes success is measured in money, beta, but I measure it in people." The boy didn't quite understand, but he nodded solemnly. Weeks turned to months. Meera's visits stopped altogether. Rumors said she had moved abroad, married a cardiologist. She no longer took calls. The town still spoke her name with pride, but now they always added quietly, it was her brother who gave her wings. Sometimes, late at night, Sushma would find Arvind sitting by the window, staring out at the moonlit street. She never asked what he was thinking. She knew. Epilogue. Years later, when Arvind passed away peacefully in his sleep, the town came together for the funeral. His children stood tall, his son training to be a schoolteacher, his daughter studying journalism. They carried themselves with the quiet dignity of a man who had once believed that lifting others was the highest calling. Meera didn't come, but a letter arrived weeks later. It was short, barely 2 lines. No apology, no remorse. I heard he passed. I suppose he did what he thought was right. I never asked for the sacrifice, but maybe I should have thanked him. Arvind's daughter read it once and folded it away in silence, because some debts, even if never acknowledged, are paid in full by love.